You're in a good place now. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. You know, tonight we're talking about creativity. We're talking about things that we create, the instrumental that makes us an individual, the stuff that actually creates, like, stardom. What is that? What does that mean? And, you know, I thought about it. I thought about, like, what is it? Entrepreneurship? Is it creation? Is it being a CEO? Is it being a president? Is it being an actor? Is it being a director? I don't know, but tonight we're going to talk about it. Tonight we're going to figure out exactly what that means and what it means to actually create something out of the ordinary that other people haven't thought of, that other people don't know about, and that other people only dream of figuring out. So tonight joining me is Kevin Page. Kevin Page is a good friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, actually. I remember him from years ago when he actually starred with Billy Bob Thornton in the Alamo film, when he got the same tattoo as Billy Bob Thornton. Remember the Alamo. Kevin, how are you doing tonight?
Thanks so much for recounting that story, Ashley. I really appreciate it.
You know I had to do it, right?
Yeah, I know you did.
God bless you. Thank you. So let's talk about real quick, a little recap. So, Kevin, you were in that film, The Alamo, with Billy Bob Thornton. You've been in several films, 100 films, right? Tell me a little bit about what brought you to being an actor.
Girls? I was in college, and I didn't really realize you could take a class in theater until I did, and it was sort of interesting. And so I ended up in theater for many years.
Let's bring that up, baby. Let's bring that up. Let's see if we can carry that up. Can we bring that up? Okay, so we're trying to bring Kevin's mic up right now. We're in a little situation here, a little sticky situation where we don't have any chairs. We're trying to move the mic up, and we're just doing what we need to do to get by here. So I remember when I met you, though, and I was like, man, that guy has tenacity. That guy's got something going on. So tell me about what you got going on right now.
Well, so I've actually spent a career in both the arts and in business. And I sort of bounce back and forth between the two of them. So I've been a film actor and a television actor, as you mentioned. I've also been an artist and a writer. But I've also founded a couple of businesses and been an investment banker twice. My last real job was I was the founder of the City of Dallas's EB-5 Foreign Investor Program.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I know. Many people don't. And so
I need to know you even better then.
So most recently, I got involved in 3D printing.
Okay.
And I'd been involved, like I said, in the arts and in business for a long time. So I was given an opportunity to work with a technology about 5 years ago. It was basically a 3D printer that used oil paint instead of polymerized plastic. Now, that sounds a little technical, but it actually ended up cool because what this technology does is it uses 3D printing techniques to create fine art oil paintings like the Pointillists from back in the 1880s, like Seurat, cool. That sort of thing.
Tell me more, because I went to your studio, and what I saw was absolutely amazing, and I really appreciate you giving me the tour. And what I saw was they were like little tiny dots of paint, and it was like millions of dots. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, so basically we started off using robotics to try to create paintings made with nothing but thousands and thousands of tiny dots of oil paint. And that can be done by hand, and that technique was started in the 1880s by a guy named Georges Seurat. But it's very difficult to do. It takes hundreds of hours and it's challenging. So we used robotics to shorten that process of placing those paint dots, and we got to be about 100 times faster and somewhat more accurate, you might say, than by hand. And so now we're actually able to make these paintings that no one's really even tried in 130 years or so. But with the 3D printing technology, we're able to make them faster and I think actually better than by hand.
That's really cool. I mean, I would hate to say you're a jack of all trades, but I hate to say that, but think about it, you're a Kevin of all trades. You have like all this stuff going. You have like actor, you're doing all this stuff. You're creating 3D printing. You're even creating you're talking about limb printings. I mean, even to help people that have lost a limb, right? Isn't that even a possibility?
They're actually developing technology now that can use human tissues in the 3D printing process. Now, that's not quite what I do. Mostly what I do is do 3D printing for people who want full-color printed models. They want some of our paintings. So I'm involved in a lot of areas of 3D printing, but the medical side is not one we've quite gotten into yet. But it is coming. At this particular point, they have printed things like the cartilage in an ear and then grown flesh around that to replace on somebody who's lost an ear. So it really will be miraculous in the next 5 to 10 years what they'll be able to do medically.
That's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about forging the future. I think a lot of times we don't know what to do. It's like we create this lifestyle and we feel like we should follow people. We feel like we should have like these people that are going to tell us exactly how to do, like these role models. Like this role model is going to come out of the middle of nowhere and be like, yeah, I'm going to totally help you. But you know what? A lot of times it doesn't happen. And so we kind of forge our own life. And we have to kind of go in a process of, I don't know, shooting in the dark. It's like I feel like sometimes you're like touching things. You're trying to find the door. You're trying to find the walkway. But it's dark. It's freaking dark outside. And we're trying to figure out our next step, right? And I think that you have to have been there before. Because I think anybody that really is imaginative as at the next level has been to that point where you just go, my God, what am I doing?
Well, I've always looked at entrepreneurship as a creative art. So while I started as, completely in the artistic side, and then I got into business, I really have been looking to combine the two for a long time, which is why I'm sort of so excited about what we're doing now. Basically, we're using high technology to create art.
Right.
And you are correct. No one tells you how to do that. No one really invites you to go do that. It's something that really has to come from inside you. It's something that you have to see and go, that connects with me creatively. It's
like the aha moment. Oh, my God, I figured out something. And it's interesting because I wonder also, what do we connect with? So let's talk about connection because, I think in life it's all about conscious thought process. It's all about getting that next level. It's all about moving ourselves from the human experience into the fourth dimension to figure out exactly who we are, but better yet, to connect with the spiritual realm that we have. How do you feel that you are connecting with that realm at this time?
Well, I deal with a lot of artistic people. I deal with a lot of artistic images. So while there's a lot of thought put behind the business side of what we do, in order for it to be exciting, in order for it to be attractive to other people, in order to find an audience, I feel like you really need to dig down and find your sort of own artistic soul, if that makes any sense at all. So when I say I've combined both business and art, I mean that very seriously. We take our business side very seriously, and we also take our art very seriously.
How would you help somebody, guide somebody in a situation where they're listening to the show and they go, you know what, Kevin, I admire you, or I care about what you did, but how do I find my artistic soul?
Well, I wouldn't have any idea, Ashley. That's an individual path and an individual choice, as I'm sure you're well aware, so you just set me up with that
No,
question.
But seriously, you know what I'm saying? What would you say to begin with? Would you say that you should look at what you like, what you care about, maybe the things that you're drawn to, or would you say just let things just kind of let the cards fall where they may, and just kind of like feel it? The direction.
Well, it seems to me that if you want to be an artist, which is kind of what you're talking about, then you have to make a series of choices about that and how seriously you want to take that. So in our current culture and society, the artist is not necessarily the highest paid job. It's not even necessarily the most respected job until, certain cultural factors take over. So I think you really have to decide, is the artist's way the way I want to walk? And if it is, then you should walk hard and briskly and with as much vim and vigor as you possibly can.
Love it, Kevin. That's the thing. I think a lot of us, too, when we're artists, I don't know, I think it's like an innate thing. It's like we get scared of being who we are, because everybody, I don't know, you feel like people judge you because you're not being that accountant, you're not being the CPA, you're not the lawyer, you're not the doctor. And you go, man, am I doing it right? Mm-hmm. And I think when you wonder, am I doing it right? It gets kind of scary because you go, man, I want to do it right, but I care about myself, but yet I care about what other people think. And I think there comes a time when you kind of got to get out of that. But at the same time, I don't know about the human condition can never leave that. But I think when you create something like right now, you've created something that is unbelievable. And you're able to give people things that they wouldn't be able to have without your ability. And I was just at your studio, which is amazing. And you had like really cool little Einsteins and everything from octopuses and Einsteins and, like people's faces on these like pieces where they looked human. Very cool stuff. And what's the drive for that? Do you just want to be able to give people what they want and their creation and be like, hey, here's your creation, all good? Or is it kind of a deeper meaning of, hey, I want you to be able to see things in Technicolor?
Well, I'm in a particularly blessed situation. I'm been offered the opportunity to work with technology that ultimately is going to change the way everybody listening to this is going to live in the next 5 years. So my motivation in many ways is simply to show you what I've found. I have the greatest job in the world. I have all these super cool toys, and really all I do all day long is tell other people about the toys that I've found to play with. Those toys, however, will be very powerful in the near future, if that makes any sense at all.
Total sense. Can you tell me about the near future, if you don't mind?
Sure. So if you think about the world, the digital world, let's say, computers, how much having desktop computers has changed our lives in the last 25 years since the desktop computer came out. Basically, 70% of the U.S. workforce has shifted into working with some kind of data. None of those jobs existed 25 years ago. That's how transformative that technology was. So 3D printing technology, augmented reality, reality computing are all going to actually have the same effect because we're essentially adding an extra dimension to the digital world.
Very cool.
So if you think about the digital world, for 25 years, everything in the digital world has been behind a window. And that window has been the monitor on your computer, on your desk. And now, 3D technology as it stands today is actually allowing the digital world to come out here with us, and that is going to be transformative.
That's awesome. I mean, you're like on the cutting edge of stuff right here. You're an actor, you've created 3D printing, really the stuff that you're doing is like so cutting edge. I mean, do you ever think about writing a book?
No, because I'm too busy trying to get the story of our actual, businesses out there. It's a little daunting to try to do something new because people don't have something to compare it to, right? And so when you try to explain something that is not comparable to anything else, it's very difficult unless you can show somebody firsthand, which is what we're trying to do basically at Kevin Page 3D Gallery and at 3D DigiFab, which is my full-color 3D printing company. So I actually have 3 companies I'm involved with right now. One, we have 2 U.S. patents on the oil painting process we've already discussed. We also do 3D printing for businesses like architects and engineering firms that need to have these crazy display models to sell their ideas. And then we actually have founded a new company based on augmented reality. Now, if you don't know what that is, go look that up on the internet because this is fantastic. Basically what it does is it combines holographic imagery, 3D imagery, with what you see through an iPad or an iPhone. So basically, it's sort of like on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or on
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Minority Report, where they're doing computing and they're waving stuff around in the air and it's all there. That is actually real, and it's going to be released over the next couple of years in 3D technology.
Amazing. So, Kevin Page, you are totally on the cutting edge. I'd love to talk with you another time here, and let's really talk about, digital printing, but also kind of get into the meat of it. But if you don't mind leaving us with some lasting answers, not really questions. I always like to give people more answers, less questions. If you were to tell somebody or give somebody a piece of advice that's looking to or thinking, has a good concept, knows what they want to do, but is kind of scared, doesn't know if they can make it happen, is there a piece of advice that you can offer them that they might be able to soul search or figure out something that help them?
Well, I think you have to go back to what we said earlier about the artistic life. The same thing for the entrepreneurial life. You have to make a decision about whether you really want to pursue that, because when you go down the entrepreneurial path, no one's probably going to help you. No one's probably going to believe you. No one's probably going to do anything for you, but you have to keep a belief in that central core that this is the decision, this is the path I set my foot on, and I intend to get down that path. That's probably not very helpful, and it's a little bit philosophical, but it's actually sort of how I live my life.
Kevin, I think that's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining Perspectives.
Thank you, Ashley.
And we'll be right back. Perspectives, always more answers, less questions. When we return, we have a filmmaker. We have another actor, which is amazing, on Dallas as well. We're going to be talking about forging that way, about creating a film, about making a film, about actually doing a blockbuster film, and how that actually means for them, as well as the entrepreneurship and how they dealt with not having a role model. Stay tuned, because Perspectives is your host. Me, Ashley Burgess, will be back this time in 2 shakes.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives. Now, here's Ashley.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Tonight we're talking about entrepreneurship. We're talking about owning your own thing, about creating your own situation, about going past what we think is reality, about going past those barriers that we feel, about going out of that box, that proverbial box that we consider working for the man, A lot of people look at it and they go, well, you know what, I'm tired of working for the man. I just want to create something of my own. I want to do my own thing. I want to go outside of the societal barriers. I want to create something that actually matters to me. But how do I do that? I mean, people tell me I can't do anything I want to do, and my family tells me those same things. They go, I don't know. I don't think you'll ever be able to do it. That's too big. That's too big of a goal. It's too big of a dream. How do you think you're ever going to create that? You should go on and work for those people because you know what? They'll help you out. You know what? My deal tonight is I'm talking about people that go outside of that box. Let's get outside of that mold, and let's sit there and let's stress out a little bit, right? Let's get a little stressed out because I got a little stressed out because that's how I feel. Okay, George Nguyen. Say your last name for me.
Nunez.
George Nunez
yes.
joins me. Okay, George Nunez is a filmmaker, and he's just recently created a awesome film that's coming out here in 1 week, right?
1 week, yeah, next Saturday.
The Lotus.
The Lotus, yes.
Tell me more about The Lotus, George.
The Lotus is a futuristic, post-apocalyptic action-adventure made on a very low budget, but what our goal was is to make it look like a big-budget summer blockbuster film. So,
Good.
which, movies like that cost $100 million, $150 million. We did it with what's considered pocket change to some people. So,
where did you shoot it out?
It's all Dallas, all here in Dallas, White Rock Lake, Garland, Texas. We went outside to Mount Vernon once, which was very, very rough shoot. It was very cold that day. Gideon was there, so it was negative 18 degrees, or no, I'm sorry, it was 18 degrees with the wind chill of negative 2 or something ridiculous
so
like that.
So you're telling me that Gideon Swift is just kind of a pansy?
Is it? He actually stuck in there pretty good, so it was exciting.
Can you get on the mic real quick? Okay, Gideon's standing right here. Gideon, talk to me. You've been on Dallas. You've been on so many shows. You've been an actor in so many things. Let's talk real quick. So you joined George in this film.
Yeah, no, I was... By the way, I had tiny roles on those shows, and basically extra work. But yeah, on George Nunez's film, yeah, it was amazing. It was freezing up in East Texas, and we were actually freezing our asses off, and
it was rough.
It was very rough. We had a hard time working in that condition, but damn it, man, it was really cool because we had the sheriffs of the town blocking off the highway.
Yeah, it was the city, it was Mount Vernon City Police Department who awesomely blocked off about 3/4 of a mile, or half a mile. It was about a half mile of highway. About a half mile of highway, and they just didn't bother us, and they stood there for about 8 hours the entire day and just left us alone, let us do our thing, which was amazing.
So they totally hooked you up.
Totally hooked us up.
Total respect.
Total respect for Mount Vernon, absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit more, because I think a lot of times we talked earlier, and you and I have a lot of commonality.
Yes, we do.
We have role models, but none of those role models we personally know.
Correct.
And if we do personally know them, they don't hang out at our house.
No, they don't.
Like Clint Eastwood doesn't come to my house and say, Ashley, it's all good.
Steven Spielberg doesn't come to my house. James Cameron doesn't come to my house. No, yeah.
I know them, but they don't come to my house.
Yeah,
so,
right.
the thing is this. What do we do? And a lot of times the people that are closest to us, it's like they have a tendency of seeing us as competition.
Right.
When all we want to do is learn.
Right.
And so in this industry, a lot of people think it's easy. They think film, they think radio, they think TV's got to be easy. It's the hardest industry in the world to break into. It's
right.
the hardest industry in the world to create.
Absolutely.
And to actually have people buy your creation.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, how do you catapult yourself every day dealing with that situation?
Well, it's a lot of hard work. That's all it is. I mean, you have to bust your ass every single day to let people know about your vision and what you want to accomplish. So what I did for me, it was like you said, I didn't have Steven Spielberg as a mentor, but I watched all his movies, and I was able to learn from that and make it my own. So what you do is for situations like that, for people that want to be filmmakers and that want to be, TV celebrities or radio personalities or whatever it is you follow these people. If you don't have an actual mentor, you follow them and you take what's good from them and you make your own path from that. So, and that's what I did on my end. But it wasn't easy. It's never going to be easy.
It's not, and the thing is that do we want it easy? I think a lot of times we choose these careers based on the fact that we don't necessarily want it easy. We want it difficult.
No, you want it to be difficult because that's what makes you more creative.
Exactly.
The challenges that you come across, if you're put in a situation, you're forced to be creative to figure the situation out. If you don't have the money for it, if you don't have the experience for it, you're forced to be creative. Whether you know that or not, you're going to be creative. So
you're pushing in the deep end.
Yeah.
It's like when you're at the pool and you're like a kid and you're like, oh my, okay, so let me explain something. My dad taught me how to drive. This is how my dad taught me how to drive. He took me to the highest mountain there was. That man. Anyway, I was about to say SOB, but that man, I love him to death. He took me to the highest mountain there was, and he got me out of the car, and he goes, okay, you get in the driver's seat, I get in the passenger seat, we're in a standard, you go for it.
You go.
And we're at a stoplight, and all of a sudden, a Bentley goes cruising up right behind the car and is right behind me, and I can literally lean all the way back, and I can see behind me, I'm like, oh my God, if I hit this car, oh my God. And he's like, if you hit the car, that's it.
you're done.
And I went, that's not even fair. He goes, life's not fair. And I went, that's ridiculous. And he goes, you know what? It's ridiculous if you hit that car. And I didn't hit the car, and I kept on going, and I hauled butt, and I peeled out rubber all the way up.
And so you figured a way out of it. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Yeah, you figure things out.
You have to.
You
'cause
have
what
to.
else are you going to do?
You don't have a choice. Sometimes you don't have a choice.
But some of us want to. Okay, so I think you and I both been in that position where we go, you know what? Other people aren't doing it. We're trying to figure it out. Are we doing it right? Like, you start wondering, like, am I doing it right? Like, am I doing the right thing? Am I going the right direction?
Right.
Or am I just, like, screwing up? Or am I just, like, faking it? And I've been in that spot where you're just like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. But I go, you know what? I got to go forward. And if I
Right.
don't keep going forward, I'm not doing anything.
And that's exactly the position I'm in. You always have to keep going, regardless of whether you feel like you're failing or, you're making progress. It doesn't matter. You always keep going. You
Exactly.
figure a way out,
Right. You know it.
You know it, yeah.
You feel it.
It works out.
Sometimes you go, man, I think I just ran into that wall, but I don't have a clue.
Right. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about this film, because I want to know about the Lotus.
The Lotus is based on a short film, my first short film that I directed called Picnic, which is a small little zombie short film.
Got 50,000 views.
Yeah, 55, but
55,000.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, but it was
on YouTube.
Yeah, I'd worked on other short films, and I realized creatively that I was like, I can totally shoot a feature film, and I don't need that much money for it. I just have to plan right for it. So, and after I shot that, I shot a couple other short films, and I was like, we're going to do this. I remember one of my producers and my girlfriend, who's Nydia, who's here today, who's been amazing on this film. I told her about what I wanted to do, and she's like, let's do it. Let's give it a try and see what happens. And
cool.
Here we are, like 2 years later, we have a feature film ready to rock with a lot of action, adventure, and stuff like that. It's got zombies in it, but I don't think it's an actual zombie movie. It's got another twist to it. So
I hope I'm invited to the premiere.
you're absolutely invited to premiere.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
you're coming. You got tickets.
Okay, God bless. I got tickets. I got backstage passes. I got
Yeah.
whatever I want. So let me ask you a question, though. Okay, let's get to the nitty-gritty. If somebody's listening to the show and they go, hey, Ashley, it's cool. You got George making a film. He's making a feature film. You got Kevin over there doing 3D animation, besides the fact that he got a tattoo that was called Remember the Alamo. We won't even go into all that with Billy Bob Thornton and all their situation. However, you got all this going on, but what happens with me? So you got the listener that's over there going, I believe in myself to a degree, but I don't know. I don't know if I have that. What would you honestly say to them that could help them figure out maybe how to at least begin to figure out what they should do?
Well, the first thing they got to do is obviously believe in themselves. That's kind of cheesy, but anybody can do whatever they want to do. If they have a dream or a passion, whatever it is, you can do it. You have to pursue it. You cannot sit there and not do anything about it and hope and wish that, it's going to come. It's going to come my way eventually. It's going to come my way eventually if you're not actually physically doing anything. You have to put in the work to do it. So if you start putting the work, then you'll start seeing the snowball effect of things happening and going your way. So, which is based on my experience on me following my film career. It doesn't matter what age you are, how old you are. I'm 36 years old. I've been wanting to be a filmmaker.
Yeah, from the 30s.
Yeah, from the 30s, right? I've been wanting to be a filmmaker since I was 5 years old. Everyone knows that. Everyone that I know knows that. So you just have to pursue it. You have to chase it. You have to go after it. You have to let yourself learn and let yourself fail a little bit, and things will start happening. You have to put the motion into it. That's all it is.
Well, I'd like to have you back on the show. I think you have a lot to offer to people, and I think you really inspire people.
Thank you so
Gideon,
much.
You're awesome. I'm going to have you on in a second. You're going to come on the show in a second here because he's got something to say. But, I do believe that, George, you really have something going on. I can't wait to see Lotus. I want to have you back on after Lotus, and I want to talk about it more.
Thank you so much.
And I think you really offer a lot of inspiration for people, and I really thank you for being so upfront about it.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Ashley.
I look forward to Lotus. You're rocking.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, George.
Thank you.
Hey, we'll be right back. Perspectives with Ashley Burgess will be back. Always more answers, less questions. We're never sitting there posing something else that you don't even know. We're always about offering answers. So stay tuned because Perspectives, the host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back this time in 2 shakes.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live with Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Tonight we're here right at the Nilo Hotel, live here on the rooftop. And we're having some really great conversations with some people that have created stuff that most people never dream of doing, never dream of creating. We're talking to Kevin Page, we're talking to George with his film Lotus, and now we're talking to one of my good friends, one of my great friends, Steve Knight. Steve, how you doing?
Would you look at this crowd out here? Look at this is the talk show turn up right now. They're going. This is crazy at Nilo. We're live. We're doing our thing right now, and much props to you. And you had great stars out here, and they're still hanging out, and you're doing a great job.
Man, Steve, you know what? You're a great person because you are a young but a veteran.
Yeah,
okay?
You're
in charge of this industry, and I go, man, please just be my friend. Seriously, I'm like, oh my God, I love you.
Well, this is a privilege. I mean, I think about this. You got major play everywhere. You just told me that you're getting ready for the podcast in Europe. So I think I'm paying homage right now to a true radio talk show host, worldwide queen right here. So I'm blessed to be here in this table.
You made me blush. However, when it comes to DJing, there's no other.
Man, you know what? Having fun. And you know what? We'll say it's 2 young vets right here on the mic right now.
Let's talk about this, Steve. So we're here. We're at this great place. We're hanging out at this great, awesome place that we call Dallas, Texas, right?
Yes.
And I like to say that because I usually don't like to say the city and state where we're at, but we're doing this right now locally. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's gonna go out pretty much worldwide, mm-hmm. And a lot of people in Europe love Dallas. I mean, that's the thing. Tell me why you started DJing.
I'm gonna tell you why I started DJing. 1977. I'm telling my age a little bit. In New York, visiting my grandparents, and here's what happened. My uncle who still is a DJ in New York. He was DJing a block party, and so to keep me from running around and getting in trouble, I was all out in the middle of the street hanging out. And this is at nighttime in Brooklyn, and I'm like 6 years old. And so they said, go up there with your uncle and sit down and behave yourself. And so I go upstairs and sit down with him in his makeshift DJ booth. So what happens is he said, all right, I'll tell you what, you'll work with me. So he said, he'll just give me a record and I'll play it. I said, all right. And I didn't know what these records were, like old Earth, Wind & Fire records, stuff like that. So I gave him a record and he played it and the crowd went crazy. And so I looked and said, did I do that? He said, yeah, you did. You did that. I was like, wow. And so from that point forward in New York, I wanted to become a DJ and been that way ever since.
That's an awesome story.
It's crazy how that happened.
Doggone it, that's an awesome story. I wanted to use another word, but doggone it, that's an awesome story. Think about it. When I was a kid, I was kind of the same thing. I grew up in a family, and my mother would ask me, how do you feel about this? And I would give her a dissertation that I had written, 15, 16 pages defining justice and a social ramification under our certain, situation as far as government laws. And my mom would be like, wow. Yeah, what does that mean? I was like, well, I'm really defining justice in 5 different social situations based on our current situation. It's not a laissez-faire, it's not a Rousseauian, it's not a Locke, it's not a Hobbes, but it's somewhere in the middle. My mom would be like, so how many people do you think are going to really read this stuff? And I said, you know what? I don't know. But I bet there's going to be at least 1,000. My mom goes, why don't you create more of an option where it's more well-rounded? And I go, what does that mean? She goes, not just political. I go, She goes, you can talk to politics and you can talk to people and you can figure out stuff and you can expose things and you can highlight people in that industry, but you don't have to be in that industry.
Right.
And I said, oh man, that's why you're mom. Thanks, Mom. Thanks. Yeah, so the thing is, I think that you and I came from that same background where it's like we created something.
Yeah.
So tell me, what really got you, okay, the first time you really DJ'd something, that you really went in there and you were like top DJ, were you scared, were you scared?
Yeah, I was terrified.
Okay.
I was terrified. The first ever official event, my very first nightclub in college, it was a big weekend, a big fraternity sorority weekend, and we had like 2,000-3,000 people in this nightclub.
Wow.
And I'm literally nervous and I'm sweating, but I knew at that moment it was like either I'm gonna sing or swim. So I decided to swim. From that point on, and that was in 1990. I became a professional that night. Got my first club resident, and then 2 years later, started in radio, and been doing it ever since.
And you are hardcore.
Oh, you know what?
Love it.
Think about this. Think about both of us. And this is what I tell people all the time. Do something you love, and you've never worked a day in your life. We have literally never worked a day in our lives doing this. This has been fun the entire way. So when people say, it's what a career, what a job. I say, look, I don't really, though this is my career, this is my job, it's been like a vacation. It's been like a true vacation. I've had a lot of fun with it. And now I get to work behind the scenes here with you. This is great.
We're having fun here.
Hashtag cocktails and convo with @Ashley Burgess. Do that on your social media, everybody listening right now.
Hashtag cocktails and conversations. Hashtag @Steve Nice. @Ashley Burgess. Hashtag LYTL. By the way, LYTL, live your true life. That was my first book.
Yeah.
My second book was a 10-day challenge, Live Your True Life. So let me find out how you LYTL. Tell me how you're living your true life, because I want to know. Hashtag LYTL. Because I want to know what you got going on, because, if Steve is living his life and he's telling us how he's doing it, I'm telling you how I'm doing it, and we can all tell each other all of this, but I want to know how you are, because you're the most important person here, okay? It comes down to you. If it's not for you, there's no reason I'm here. So, Steve, okay, so here we are. We're standing here. We're out on the rooftop. We're having a good time. We got people all around. We got photographers. We got videographers. We got our friends. We got all kinds of really awesome people. So tell me, you know what? It doesn't feel like work. I'll tell you that.
No, it doesn't.
Like...
Not at all. Not at all.
How would you tell somebody that's listening tonight, hey, I might not be a DJ, Steve. I might not be a radio personality, Ashley, but how do I find what I should be doing? How do I find my purpose?
Dig deep. Also this. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Be very honest with yourself about what's going on. What do you like to do? What is your hobby? What would you like to do that you want to get paid for? And it doesn't have to be anything outlandish, or it could be crazy. I mean, the reason I became a professional DJ also is I was sitting in my dorm room with my girlfriend at the time, and we were talking about what we wanted to do with our lives. I was going to school for biological research. She was going to school for nursing. So we're mapping this out and things like that. And I looked over I had my turntables on the counter. I said, you know what I'd like to do? She said, what? I said, I'd like to DJ. And she said, well, that's what you need to do. And I was like, get out of here. There's no way I'm going to be a professional DJ. We need to get jobs so we can start making money and have a life. She said, no, understand this. That is what you like to do. Make money at things that you like to do. And I took that, and I thank her to this day for that, because that's what got me into radio, is that she really made me think hard about, doing things you like to do and getting paid for it. That's the fun part, making your hobby work for you.
I love it. You know what? A lot of times we don't know how to do that. We don't know what to do about that. We don't know how to actually take that to the next level. And I think a lot of times it comes down to our parents. And I'm going to be honest with you. When our parents are raised in an environment where their dreams were looked at like crazy dreams.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But they're like, you can't do that. I mean, like, if your mother thought back in the day, I'm going to be a doctor, and they're like, no, you can be a nurse, and you can be a nurse practitioner. That's what you're going to be. If you want to have, like, a job, you're going to be a secretary. And I think our parents, they weren't trying to keep us away from doing what we wanted to do. They were just taught that, and so they were agreeing that. And so a lot of times in our lives, when parents sit there and say, you can't do that, it's not based on the fact that you can't. It's based on the fact that they believe that they couldn't.
Right. And
they were told they couldn't.
And the thing is, with our parents, they were also taught, you have a dream, that's good, but now it's time to go to work.
Right.
And not that your dream could be a reality. Like
Right.
that's how we talk. That's how we think now. But our parents were like this. Yeah, I used to want to be such and such, but I knew I had to have a job and I had to get married. So let me do this. So that's you're right. That's where that mentality comes from. And where we come from, it's like you can be whatever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. But that's this generation now. So you're right about that.
And Steve, I think that you impart some really great knowledge for us, and I really want to have you on a full show on perspectives, because I think that people can really learn, but not only learn, they can just be freaking amazed, because you are just a really you have that personality, and I think a lot of people listen to my show and have listened to my show for the last 4 years know that I'm big on people that are really authentic.
Yes.
Authentic is a big deal. And I feel authentic. And I think anybody listening tonight, you can feel when people are not being real with you. You can feel when people are holding back from you. You can feel when people are holding back from themselves. And that's really what it is. It's not about really them holding back from you. It's about them lying to themselves.
Exactly.
That's really the whole deal, right?
Exactly. And that goes back to, living your true life. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself in order to live that way. And if you're not honest with yourself, you're not going to be honest with the world.
Exactly. And so, Steve, give me one last piece of advice, because you know what? We're going to head into the break. But I can't wait to listen to your music here. You're going to be playing live. You're going to be DJing.
You know what? I'll give you a bit of advice. Since we're close to Halloween, everybody's listening. Take off the mask. Look in the mirror. Live your true life. That's what we'll do it like that.
Doggone, God bless. Okay, that is it. That's the end-all, be-all. Steve Nice, thank you so much for joining Perspectives.
Thank you for having me.
God bless. Steve Nice here on Perspectives told us a lot of great stuff tonight. You know what? He's straight up about it. Take off the mask. Be yourself. See yourself for your authentic self and realize what kind of value you offer to this world. You don't offer any value when you're faking it, when you're acting like you're not, when you're not trying to be you, because you know what? The best thing is for you to be you. Stay tuned. Perspectives coming up. I got more answers, less questions. Go to AshleyBurgess.com. Check out the AshleyBurgessNetwork.com. 24/7. Always Perspectives. 24/7 hours a day. Check out Spreaker. Spreaker.com. Speaker with an R. Check that out. We're in the top 10 shows in the country right now, actually in the world. Check out Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. Coming up, more answers, less questions. So Perspectives Heroes, me, Ashley Burgess, be back this time. Well, I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
You could be my luck. Get in here. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Tonight we've been talking about creating something, making something of your own, doing something with the reality, making something totally different that nobody actually has ever created. And that's the coolest thing about life, is because we're able to do things that nobody's ever done. And you know what? It's only when we realize in life that we're able to do this that we take it to the next level. The coolest thing about life is that we're able to see things for what they are. And you know what? I think a lot of people tonight have really talked about that, whether it's George, whether it's Kevin, whether it's Steve, whether it's Gideon. Everybody has actually brought to the table the fact that we can actually do things with our life that we never dreamed was possible. And you know what? I'd like to talk really quick about some things that I think that you can do for your own life. For the last 300 plus shows, I talked to you about how to find your purpose, and I think that tonight is right on about finding your purpose. And I decided I'm going to go probably live Periscope real quick, because I think that it's time to talk about purpose, because I think that we talk about purpose all the time, and we talk about what you do with purpose, but we don't really think about, what is purpose, Ashley? What does that mean? You know what? What is your purpose? And when we figure out what is your purpose, that is what it's all about. And let's go on and do this right now. I am doing this all on my own. And let's just start the broadcast. So, what is your purpose? Okay, and I want to talk about that right now. So here we are right now, live here at the Nilo. We're doing what is your purpose, and I'm talking about what is your honest purpose. And the thing is that life is really too short to really realize what we're doing. A lot of times in life, we have a tendency of not knowing where we should go, what we should do, and we have a tendency of believing that we don't have an ability to do anything. And what I want to tell you right now is that you do have the ability. When I go into high schools, when I go into middle schools, when I go into elementary schools, I actually talk about the things that actually matter. And the thing is that you have the ability to do something more than anybody in the whole world does. You have the ability to do something better than anybody else. You have a quality that only one person in the world has, and you have to figure out what that quality is. I figured out in life that that's a big deal. And when we figure out what that one quality is, we can figure out how to live our life. And right now we've been talking to some really major folks here in Dallas who really know a lot about life, and I think it's time for us to decide what we want to do. Okay, so right now, let's try to focus on your purpose. Write out some journaling. Decide what you really believe is real. Decide what's really important to you and what's important to your life. Also, let go of preconceived notions. Stop listening to what your parents say. Stop listening to what your relatives say. Stop listening to people tell you that you can never be anything, because it's not true. You know better than that. You actually believe better than that. You know that you can actually create anything you want to create in this world, and I'm here to tell you exactly that. Don't believe the negative. Believe the positive. Do not believe the haters. The haters will just take you down because they want to, because they've never created anything of their own. Okay, response. Again, I'm going to repeat exactly what I just said. The haters want you to never create anything because they've never created anything of their own. They're scared, and so they want you to be scared, right? Isn't that the reality of it? Isn't that the tactic? Isn't that what we're doing here from A to B? Okay, so let's flip that around and let's actually hang out with people that actually care, people that actually believe in you, and Perspectives believes in you. So really, before we go away, before we go to the next show, we're on 7 days a week. If you want to check out the AshleyBurgessNetwork.com, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, always Perspectives. Ashley Burgess, woo! Hi, how you doing? Good to see y'all here on Periscope. AshleyBurgess.com. Always got the new stuff coming up, as well as Spreaker.com. We're in the top 10 in the world podcast right now, which is a really amazing thing. But you can catch me 7 days a week on terrestrial radio. Before I leave tonight, I want to talk with Kevin Page real quick. He's going to come back up to the microphone, and we're going to talk a couple of things here. We're on the rooftop of the Nilo in Dallas, Texas. Kevin, one last thing I want to talk about. First off, how you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thanks, Ashley.
It's good to see you again. So, real quick, I've been talking about how people really don't want to believe the haters. The fact is that the haters will tell you anything because you know what? They don't believe in themselves. Have you ever had to deal with anybody that just didn't believe in you?
Well, yes, of course you do, because if you're doing something creative or new or innovative like you've been talking about all night long, that's going to be something that people can't compare with something else. So you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in what you're doing so that you can get that point across to the haters or anybody else.
Awesome. So basically the fact is, if you believe in yourself, you just let it go. Like, forge the way.
Well, what are you going to do? Stay at home and lay in your bed?
Some people do. Some people do. Some people do. And the thing is that you have to kind of overtake that. You have to go past that. You have to understand the fact that you're my sister. You're totally cool. Thank you so much for all the hearts. And you have to understand the fact that people will try to take you down. But in the big time, one more thing, Kevin. Okay, so we sit there. We're having all this great time. We're having an amazing time. You're in charge of this technological age. You're not only that, but you're acting. What makes you smile when you wake up in the morning?
Oh, what I'm doing makes me smile. Are you kidding? We're blazing a trail every single day we go into the office. I mean, we're doing printing with oil painting, and we're making original paintings from out of the air. We're creating all kinds of stuff that people have never seen before. That's so exciting. I almost can't go to sleep at night.
That's a good thing to have. Thank you, Kevin, so much for joining us. Love to have you on a full show here in the next couple of weeks. Would you join Perspectives on a show soon?
Anytime you want me.
You're awesome. Thank you, Kevin Page. Looking forward to talking with you more. Don't leave without having a drink with me. Yay. So everybody else here on Perspectives, listen, I really appreciate all the hearts tonight. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you. Woo! We love you so much. We're so happy to have you. Perspectives, your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back this time in 3 shakes.